Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into the source stack on Julian Edelman. His career is just
It
fascinating
really is.
because he wasn't just, good. He basically achieved greatness by completely reinventing himself as a player.
Yeah, it's one of those truly compelling stories in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's maybe the ultimate example of adapting under, well, intense pressure. Our sources show not just the stats, which are impressive, but the whole process behind it.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack these sources, understand how he pulled it off. How does the guy picked in the seventh round, who played quarterback his whole life,
Yeah.
how does he become maybe the most clutch receiver for that Patriots dynasty? This deep dive, it's not just numbers, it's about professional evolution.
And what's really interesting is that his journey, it's like a masterclass in being flexible, right?
Right.
And it perfectly lines up with, and honestly helped define that whole golden era for the Patriots.
He became the prototype for a certain role, didn't he?
Exactly.
Mm.
In that system that was so good at exploiting mismatches. And the central question, the paradox we have to look at, is how someone who started as a QB,
The guy calling the signals.
right, the last person you'd expect to catch passes, ends up second all-time in playoff catches.
It's staggering.
That level of receiving dominance from that starting point, it's historically pretty remarkable.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Understand the raw materials, Edelman, born 86, Redwood City, California, Bay Area guy. And his early football identity, that's the crucial part here.
That's right. Because from high school, Woodside High, all the way through college, San Mateo, then Kent State, he was a quarterback, like only a quarterback.
Not just trying it out.
No, this was his thing. He ran the offense, called plays, ball in his hands every single snap. That was his identity.
And the stats from Kent State, when you dig into those sources, they really hint at what was coming, right? That big shift. He wasn't your classic pocket passer at all.
No, definitely not. He was the absolute definition of a dual-threat QB. I mean, you have to put those numbers in context for the listener.
Okay.
He threw for, okay, yardage, sure, but his rushing numbers, they were like way higher than you'd expect for a college QB trying to make the league at that position.
So he was running a lot.
Constantly. Scrambling, designed runs. He was electric, An explosive athlete who could make plays just as easily with his legs as his arm.
That's a really key distinction. The NFL wasn't looking at him thinking, okay, here's a QB project.
Not really.
They saw those rushing stats, the quickness, the speed, and they were thinking, receiver.
Exactly. The stats basically screamed, great athlete, maybe wrong position for the pros. And that realization, that leads us to the 2009 NFL Draft. Patriots grab him, 7th round.
And we really need to emphasize what being a seventh-round pick means. It's not just a nice underdog label.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's a calculated risk by the team, a very small one. Pick 232, 235, something like that. You're not guaranteed anything. No roster spot, probably zero guaranteed money. You're basically there to fill out the camp roster.
Yeah, Camp Body is right. The odds of a 7th rounder sticking around, let alone having the kind of career Edelman had, tiny. Just minuscule, which makes that need to adapt immediately even more intense.
But this is where the Patriots coaching staff, specifically Belichick, comes in. They saw something.
They did. They didn't draft him to be a backup QB. They drafted the athlete.
So what was that like? Telling a guy who spent maybe 15 years mastering quarterback, okay, forget all that, you're playing wide receiver now.
Well, the sources say the decision was fast and final. Patriots moved him right away, wide receiver and return specialist. It wasn't like, hey, let's ease you into this.
No gradual transition.
Nope. It was a professional necessity. They saw that rare athleticism, the burst, the quickness, and figured the best way to use it was running routes and returning kicks.
Wow. That switch itself is just hard to imagine. Going from the guy running the whole show
The conductor, yeah.
to being like one specific instrument, just focused on the technique of route running, getting open, catching in traffic.
It's an almost unbelievable professional challenge.
Yeah.
Think about, you have to basically unlearn years of how your body moves.
Right. QB footwork is totally different.
Completely. It's about pocket feel, throwing mechanics. Receiver footwork is all about explosion, changing direction at top speed, fighting off corners. He had to reprogram his whole operating system.
And do it against the best athletes on the planet.
While fighting tooth and nail just to keep a job as a late-round pick.
So yeah, this huge shift from QB to receiver, that's the first big lesson his career teaches you, right? Perseverance.
Yeah.
Using what you have, that speed, that athleticism, to master something totally new, all while knowing you could be cut any day. The pressure must have been just immense.
And the fact that he pulled it off. Didn't just survive, but actually thrived. That comes down to those non-traditional strengths. Specifically, transferring his knowledge. His success as a receiver wasn't just about being fast. It was built fundamentally on his QB brain.
Okay, that's the really deep insight from the sources. Explain that. How does being a former QB actually help you as a receiver? Seems backwards.
Well, it gives you this kind of advanced, holistic view of the play that most receivers just don't naturally have. Most receivers are thinking, beat my guy.
Right, one-on-one.
Edelman understood the whole picture. The play's goal, how the defense was likely to rotate, what the quarterback was seeing.
So he knew where the ball should go, not just where his route technically ended.
Precisely. If you really break down his routes, especially from the slot, he was amazing at option routes, sight adjustments. Because he played QB, he could read the defensive shell, see the safety rotation, spot the linebacker dropping, anticipate where the weak spot in the coverage would be.
Ah, okay, so he could adjust on the fly.
Yeah. He could manipulate those soft spots in zones. Like, say, on a crossing route, he knew exactly when and where to sit down in the zone to give Brady that easy throw, because he knew where Brady had to look based on the pre-snap read.
That kind of smart improvisation must have been invaluable, especially in that Patriots offense, which was all about precision. It means he and Brady were just on another level compared to most QB receiver duos.
Absolutely. They had that instant trust because Edelman could basically see the play unfold from Brady's perspective too. And that's huge in the short and intermediate game, which was Edelman's bread and butter.
Where the slot receiver lives.
Right. And look, the slot guys take a beating running those routes over the middle, but Edelman's quickness, combined with knowing exactly where to be and when, let him find space faster. He could anticipate throws, maybe avoid some of the biggest hits.
We always talk about his toughness, and he was definitely tough, but it sounds like that mental edge actually helped him survive physically too. That combination is just lethal. And the overall stats, they really back up how successful this huge position change was.
Let's lay out the numbers, because they define the kind of player he became. Over 12 seasons, right? 620 catches, over 6,800 yards, 36 touchdowns. Solid numbers.
Very solid.
But they show a specific type of production, that high catch number. It's because he became Mr. Reliable, the go-to guy on third downs, in clutch moments, high volume.
And before he really became that key slot guy, we can't forget his value as a returner. That kept him on the roster early on.
Oh, definitely. That immediate contribution was critical for surviving those first few years. The sources note almost 2,000 punt return yards. That highlights his value in multiple phases right away.
Makes sense.
And returning punts requires that same quick thinking, that burst he eventually used in the slot. It got him reps, got him comfortable in open space while he was still learning the fine points of being an NFL receiver.
So he basically had to win his spot twice. First as a returner, then prove himself as a receiver. That commitment, it really explains his longevity, too. Played his entire 12-year career just for the Patriots.
Which is pretty rare these days, right, in the NFL, with so much player movement, especially for a skill guy who wasn't some high draft pick. It just shows how essential he became to what they did.
Yeah.
The Patriots, they don't really do sentimentality. They value execution. And Edelman was just irreplaceable in that slot role. The guy who moved the chains on third down, the player Brady trusted completely when things got tight.
Okay, but let's push back a little here. Was there a ceiling to his game because of that? The story is all about adaptation, but he was mainly a slot guy, right? Did people ever say he relied too much on the system or maybe too much on Brady? Was he maybe too specialized?
That's a totally fair point, and yeah, you hear that sometimes. It's true, Edelman wasn't your classic Doug threat. He wasn't catching 50-yard bombs consistently.
His average depth of target is probably lower.
Exactly. Advanced stats show that. But the counter-argument, which the sources really back up, is that his specialization was his strength, especially in that specific Patriots system.
Meaning he was incredibly good at the most important thing they needed him to do.
Precisely that. The Patriots offense, particularly later in the dynasty, it was all about surgical precision, keep the chains moving, don't turn the ball over. Edelman mastered efficiency. His catch rate, especially on contested throws over the middle, phenomenal. He thrived when things were crowded, when the pressure was highest. So maybe he wasn't the traditional #1 receiver, but he was the essential #1 option in critical situations. And that wins championships. It wasn't dependency on Brady. It was synergy, built on that shared QB background.
Okay, so the regular season stats show a very good player, but Julian Edelman's real legacy, the legend, it wasn't built over 16 games. It was built in January and February.
Absolutely.
Start with the rings. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2014, 2016, 2018 seasons.
And crucially, he wasn't just, along for the ride. He was a core offensive weapon in all 3 of those Super Bowl wins. This moves him beyond just good player into being a fundamental pillar of that Patriots dynasty, especially in the second half of the Brady years when maybe the defense wasn't quite as dominant and the offense needed near-perfect execution.
And the absolute peak, the defining moment, has to be Super Bowl '03. After the 2018 season against the Rams, this is the game that changed everything for his legacy.
Yeah, the context of that Super Bowl is so important. Final score was 13-3. It was just this ugly defensive grind. People called it one of the worst offensive Super Bowls ever.
Every yard felt impossible.
Totally contested. Every first down felt huge. And in that slog, Edelman was pretty much the only offensive player on either team moving the ball consistently.
Which is why he won the MVP.
Exactly. 10 catches, 141 yards. Think about that. In a game where his team only scored 13 points total, he got 141 yards. He counted for a huge chunk of their offense.
He was the difference.
He absolutely was. Kept drives alive, dominated the middle of the field when both defenses were just shutting everything else down. His performance didn't just contribute, it basically broke the stalemate.
And the sources point out that incredible historical aha moment. Winning that MVP made Julian Edelman the first Jewish player in NFL history to get that award. That adds a whole other layer of significance, right? Beyond just football.
It really does. It cements his place in history in a way that resonates much wider. But let's pivot to the thing that really defines his career. The whole playoff Edelman phenomenon. That nickname isn't just hype.
No, it's backed by numbers.
It's statistically real. He had this documented ability to just flip a switch when the games mattered most.
And here's the stat that everyone listening needs to lock onto. Julian Edelman ranks second all-time in NFL history for playoff receptions.
Second. All time. Just pause and think about all the legendary receivers who've played this game over decades. Edelman is behind only Jerry Rice. Jerry freaking Rice.
The Jewy T.
Yeah. And when you remember, Edelman started as a converted QB, a seventh-round flyer.
Right.
That stat goes from just impressive to, like, truly mind-blowing.
And the sources emphasize it's not just about playing in a lot of playoff games, it's the rate of his production.
Exactly. The density matters.
Yeah.
He played fewer seasons, fewer total playoff games than a lot of guys near the top of that list. But his catches per game in the playoffs, it's off the charts.
So what was it? What made him so good under that specific pressure?
It proves that his whole adaptation story, that blend of QB smarts and receiver grit, was perfectly suited for the playoffs. Think about it. In big games, defenses tighten up. They rely on recognizing patterns. They play disciplined. Edelman's knack for those sight adjustments, for finding that tiny sliver of space, for perfect footwork when everything's chaotic. It made him the ultimate weapon when the leverage was highest.
Can you give us an example? Like, paint a picture of a classic playoff Edelman moment.
Okay, sure. Picture this. AFC Championship game. Late fourth quarter, Pats are down by 4. It's 3rd and 7, deep in their own territory. Defense is playing it safe, maybe cover 2, trying to keep everything underneath.
Standard stuff.
Right. A normal receiver runs his assigned 7-yard hook, probably gets bracketed by the linebacker and corner. Tough catch.
Yeah.
But Edelman, with his QB brain, reads the linebacker leaning just slightly inside to maybe help on the tight end.
Okay.
So he starts his hook, sees Brady's eyes confirm the read, and bam, he instantly converts the route. Breaks it off into a shallow post, right into that little void the linebacker just vacated.
Finds a dead spot.
Finds a spot, sits down, Brady puts it right on him. It's a 12-yard game, first down, drive stays alive. It looks simple, but it's that combination of reading the defense, improvising intelligently, and then having the hands and toughness to make the catch over the middle.
Yeah.
That's what won them games.
So his clutch play wasn't just random luck. It was calculated execution. And you have to see this within the whole Brady Patriots dynasty context, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because so many of their later Super Bowl runs, those wins were tight defensive battles. They weren't blowing teams out often. They won games decided by a few key plays, by pure execution.
Not mistakes by the other team.
Less often, yeah. It was about their execution. Edelman's reliability was critical. Those catches on 3rd down, keeping a game-winning drive going in the final minutes. It meant the Patriots didn't always have to rely on a miracle deep ball or hope for a turnover. He was the steady hand, the guarantee of efficiency when the pressure was absolutely crushing.
So, after cementing himself in Patriots lore, 3 rings, that Super Bowl MVP, Edelman hangs it up, announces his retirement April 12, 2021. 12 seasons, all with New England.
A well-earned retirement, but, the the adaptation didn't stop there. The sources show he transitioned pretty smoothly into his post-playing life, leveraging that brand and knowledge almost immediately.
Yeah, he jumped right into being an NFL analyst, a commentator, popped up in entertainment stuff too. It seems like he understood retirement wasn't about vanishing. It was about taking that reputation. He built the smarts, the toughness, and applying it somewhere else.
And significantly, he started sharing his story more directly. He wrote books about his life, really focusing on those themes, overcoming challenges, the importance of incredible effort, the need to reinvent yourself. His message off the field really echoes his playing career. Success comes from relentless hard work and being willing to adapt.
And that's why his story hits home so hard, especially for you, the learner. He's just this perfect example of professional grit. We can't say it enough. Going from a guy barely on the NFL radar, 7th round college QB, to a legitimate superstar, Super Bowl MVP, that doesn't happen without an insane amount of willpower. It wasn't preordained.
No, his path wasn't linear like most stars. He wasn't the can't-miss prospect.
Yeah.
He was this super athletic puzzle piece that maybe only a team like the Patriots could figure out. But he was the one who had to put in the brutal daily grind to master a whole new job description. Those core ideas, adaptation, reinventing yourself, sheer effort. Those are universal lessons. They apply anywhere.
And we have to wrap up his career summary by just stating his undeniable place in Patriots history. He wasn't just on championship teams. He became part of the very fabric of winning in New England. You think Brady, you think Belichick, and you think Edelman, that slot guy, the converted QB, he became the face of performing when it mattered most.
Yeah, he went from being almost an afterthought in the draft to being completely irreplaceable. That journey is the legacy. #tag outro.
So let's boil down the key takeaways from this deep dive for you. Edelman's career, it's just this incredibly powerful lesson in professional growth. First, that unbelievable switch from college QB to elite NFL receiver, all thanks to that unique QB intelligence he brought. Second, that Super Bowl L3 MVP performance, just dominating a defensive battle with 10 catches for 141 yards.
Monumental.
And finally, that absolutely stunning second-place ranking in all-time NFL playoff catches, putting him right there beside Jerry Rice. It's just incredible context. Yeah, it paints the whole picture of reinvention, so we bring it back to you, the learner. Edelman's story, it's not just about football. It's a really potent example of how being flexible, combined with just pure effort, can turn what looks like a professional weakness, a late draft pick, having to completely change what you do into your biggest strength, an absolutely essential asset.
It really makes you ask that final provocative question, right? The challenge his success leaves us with. If a player drafted just for raw athletic talent had to fundamentally change who he was, learn a totally new technical skill, and endure years of punishment to reach the absolute top, what skill or mindset, or maybe even professional identity, might you need to adapt or develop to get to your next level?
That's the challenge.
That's the core lesson from Julian Edelman's legendary career.
Something definitely worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.